Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine, your morning. First thing, you open your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Standard stuff.
Right. Or later, you're having dinner. Just sitting down, talking with people seems totally normal, maybe even nice.
Absolutely. Everyday thing.
But what if those simple acts, the ones we barely think about, were actually terrifying? Like sources of really intense fear.
Yeah, that's a jarring thought, isn't it?
Yeah,
Taking something so fundamental and flipping it into a nightmare.
exactly. And that contrast, that sort of surprising twist on what's familiar. Well, that's what we're getting into today.
We're doing a deep dive into some, let's say, really unusual phobias, some genuinely bizarre ones.
Our guide for this is an article from 10mosttoday.com. It's called 10 Most Bizarre Phobias.
And they pretty much say up front, you might think you know weird phobias, but this list is probably going to surprise you. They use words like unusual.
So that's our mission today. We're going to walk through this article, their list, and just unpack what the source material says about these fears.
Highlighting the details they mentioned, the potential impacts. It's really about exploring how fear can show up in ways you might just never expect.
Yeah, approaching it with curiosity, definitely. But also, respecting that these are real conditions for people.
Absolutely. It's a fine line, acknowledging the strangeness while understanding the reality.
So the article, it jumps right in, promises to go beyond the usual suspects of weird fears, and the first one they list. It definitely makes you stop and think.
It really does. They start with optophobia,
Optophobia, the fear of opening your eyes.
just
Yeah.
opening your eyes. The article calls it potentially the most bothersome phobia out there.
I can see why. It's like the most basic way we interact with the world.
Right. The source says for most people, it's as easy as breathing.
Yeah.
But for someone with optophobia, it's a nightmare. Imagine starting every single day with that terror.
Wow. And there's that line in the article, too. Something like,
Oh, yeah. Fortunately, if you can read this, you probably aren't an optophobic.
stark.
Yeah,
Really drives home how fundamental that is.
definitely. So from something very physical, the next one shifts more towards the social, the emotional. Geliophobia.
The fear of laughing. Okay, this feels like a real paradox.
It does. The article even brings up the whole laughter is the best medicine idea, talks about the known benefits, physical, mental health, social bonds, all that.
And yet some people are actually afraid of it.
Exactly. The source says people with geliophobia get anxious, distressed, not just from laughing themselves. Sometimes just being around others laughing is enough.
Huh. Does it say why?
Well, it suggests a couple of possible routes. Maybe laughing at the wrong time in the past, and this seems significant, being laughed at.
Ah, okay. Being laughed at. That feels like it could tie into deeper social anxiety, maybe past trauma. Like the article seems to hint, adds another layer.
For sure. Okay, moving on. The next one is about a specific activity, chorophobia.
Fear of dancing. So this isn't just feeling awkward at a wedding.
Apparently not. According to the source, it's triggered by any occasion with dancing. They mentioned parties, ballets, weddings. Yeah, and it says it doesn't matter about your skill level or even if you have to dance. It's just the presence of dancing itself.
The activity, not your participation. Got it. Okay, shifting focus now to the environment. Heliophobia,
Fear of sunlight.
which is tricky given, we need sunlight. The article points that out, right? For bones, mood.
Right, it highlights the benefits. But then describes heliophobia as this rare condition where sunlight, even just bright lights, can cause real panic and anxiety.
And the source connects it to worrying about the sun's negative effects.
Yeah, it mentions an extreme worry about getting the sun's harmful effects. So it may be rooted in an intense health fear around UV rays, perhaps.
Could be.
The article then adds that slightly dark, humorous line.
Oh, the vampire one.
Yeah, that keeping away from the sunlight is an impossible task unless you're a vampire. Kind of underscores how isolating and difficult managing this fear must be day to day.
Definitely a tough one. Okay, the next one on their list feels, well, really specific.
It is. Get ready for this one. Arachibutyrophobia.
Let me guess. Fear of spiders eating butter.
Huh, not quite. It's the fear of peanut butter getting stuck to the roof of your mouth.
Okay, wow. That is specific.
The article calls it peculiar. Nate, it's not really life-threatening, but what's interesting is how the source frames it. It actually mentions the benefits of peanut butter, like lowering cholesterol.
That sufferers might miss out on.
Exactly. So it uses this very specific, maybe seemingly minor fear to show how phobias can make even harmless things seem terrifying and potentially block you from something beneficial.
Good point. The fear itself creates the danger, in a way. Okay, back to social situations. Dipnophobia.
Fear of dinner conversations.
Oh, I think I know some people who might have a mild case of this.
Yeah, maybe. But the article describes it as a more specific social phobia. It notes the obvious downside it can cause awkwardness,
Sure.
but then it adds this kind of unexpected observation. It says remaining silent at dinner actually benefits digestion.
Wait, really? So avoiding the awkward small talk is good for your gut, according to the article.
Yeah. Apparently. A bit of a quirky silver lining, maybe, for a phobia that could really hinder social life.
Huh. Okay.
Next up is neophobia. Fear of new things, new experiences, new objects.
Right, and in a world where, change is the only constant, that sounds difficult.
Very. The article calls it aberrant and severe. It really emphasizes the impact.
How so?
Well, the source states it affects overall well-being, happiness,
Ah,
because people miss out on life-changing experiences and opportunities.
makes sense. You avoid the new, you miss the potential good.
And it goes further. It makes a pretty strong claim
Yeah.
suggesting the stress, the pressure associated with this constant avoidance might even minimize life expectancy.
Wow, so the article is linking this psychological state directly to potential physical longevity. That's quite something.
It really elevates it beyond just, preferring routine, frames it as having potentially serious long-term health implications.
Okay. Following that heavy one, we have ablutophobia.
Fear of washing and bathing. The article notes it's seen most common in children, but definitely occurs in adults too.
Just the thought of it is terrifying.
That's how the source puts it. Terror, with just a mere thought of taking a shower.
Yikes. But the article adds some nuance here too, doesn't it?
It does. It kind of acknowledges that, okay, maybe skipping a shower now and then has tiny benefits, preserves good skin bacteria or whatever.
Right.
But it stresses that regularly avoiding washing because of this phobia, that may likely negatively affect your social life and health. So it hits hygiene, health, and social standing.
A triple whammy from avoiding something so basic. Okay, nearly through the list. Number 9 is syngenesiphobia.
Fear of relatives.
Okay, let's be honest. Who hasn't felt annoyed by relatives? But this is different.
Exactly. The article makes that distinction. This isn't just irritation. It's a genuine, deep fear.
And the source offers advice on this one.
Yeah, interestingly, it suggests getting professional help. Unless, it says, there are enough reasons for the fear.
Ah, so it acknowledges that sometimes, sadly, the fear might be grounded in actual bad experiences. But otherwise, therapy is recommended.
It's a subtle but important point they make. And, like neophobia, the article connects this one back to health, too.
Oh.
It mentions research suggesting strong family ties might increase life expectancy. So the implication is, overcoming this phobia could potentially allow for those beneficial connections.
Another interesting potential link between the phobia and overall health outcomes mentioned in the source. Okay, last one on their list.
And it's another specific one, geniophobia.
Fear of chins.
Chins, yes. The article points out this isn't unique, mentions other body part phobias like fear of hands, chirophobia, or knees.
Genophobia.
But-
Shows how specific a phobia can get, I guess.
Exactly. And the source notes, understandably, that fearing chins can make social interactions difficult if you're scared of a common facial feature.
Yeah, makes sense. And the recommendation.
Therapy. Pretty standard advice for dealing with a phobia that impacts social life.
Wow. So that's the list from the article. It's quite a journey, isn't it? From fearing opening your eyes.
To laughter, sunlight,
Winter chat, family.
even peanut butter texture at chins.
Yeah.
And the fear of newness itself.
It really does cover a huge range. The source takes us from, basic biology and senses, through social stuff, environmental things, right down to hyper-specific objects or body parts, and even abstract concepts.
It paints a really vivid picture of just how widely fear can attach itself to things, unexpected things.
Absolutely. So this deep dive into the article's bizarre phobias, it definitely gives you some perspective.
It really does. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, that things many of us find easy or pleasant or just totally neutral
Like seeing the world or eating a meal or feeling the sun.
can be massive, terrifying obstacles for other people. It really highlights how differently we can all experience the very same world.
Yeah, the diversity of internal experience. It's
Yeah.
profound.
And, given that the source, the article we looked at, mentioned potential links to health or even life expectancy for some of these phobias like neophobia, syngenesiphobia, it sort of leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you listening to consider. When we see these really extreme examples, fear sticking to everyday things, Does it maybe encourage us to look at our own anxieties, even the ones that seem smaller?
Yeah, like our own discomforts with certain common situations or things, maybe things we just brush off.
Exactly. And perhaps recognizing that fear can show up in these really surprising ways and have real impacts according to the source. Maybe it prompts us to think about seeking understanding or even support for our own challenges.
No matter how minor they might seem compared to, say, fearing laughter or sunlight.
Right. It sort of validates that all our internal experiences, especially those fears and anxieties, they matter. They have an impact regardless of how unusual or common they might seem from the outside.